Okay, welcome everyone. Good Tavach, as we welcome in Saba, and we welcome in Ben Sinkon, Eddie Chazan, Michal Akhtar, Mo Kushner, Abi Spry, Mel Zachter, Aaron Swade, Mark Frankel, Dr. Block, Menachem Umansky, Irving Fishbaum, Nachman Chapler, Stephen Holtzman, Shelley Zeitlin, Yitzi Fuchs, Barish Gesseman, Moshe Lehman, Richard Rosenzweig, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Ilya Shutman, Zalman, Chaim Braun, Yitzi Muller. And here in the shul we have Chazan Danan, who's getting married today. Actually, it's today because it's tomorrow afternoon. Michal Avram and his wonderful son. What's your first name? Yeshua. Here for the Simcha. And we welcome in David Helfgard, who's listening on Kol Lashon. We are sponsored by Abi Spry from Nachas, from his whole family. By Baruchi and Leon Nishmas, Yaakov Chai Ben Abba, Esther Bas Gittel, Avram and Shmuel HaKaim, by Yaakov Umansky, Vakasatov to the Rav, the Zoom family, Nachas from children and grandchildren, by Ed Saleh from London, Joshua Rosenberg, and Eli Nishmas, Rabbi Yaakov Zeb and Rabbi Daya, Maris Rivka Bas, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, Maritzivi Miriam Bas, Rabbi God, and Rabbi Yosef Ben Tzim, and Rabbi Yaakov Zeb. As you heard, we have to have in mind Shimon Klein. He should solve the issues with his eyes. Shimon Yehuda ben Gittel should have a refuah shalema b'sei shecha Yisrael. We get right on the way with the new Mishnah on Daf Chaf Hei Amud Aleph, and we are Mark in Bava Basra, and we marchikin es hanevelos. You have to distance animal corpses, vesakforis and graves, vesaburski and a tannery, minoir from a city, chamishim amma, 50 amas, because of the smell. Ein oisin burski el lemizrach. You only make a tannery to the east of the city because the eastern wind is the most gentle, generally. Rabbi Akiva says, "A kol ruach hu oisa." You could do it in any direction, chutz mimarav, except from the west. We will see that the reason is because the Shechina is b'marav. The Shechina is in the west. Kamishim ama. Everywhere else, you could put it, but you have to distance it 50 amas. So marchikan as a mishra min hayarek. If Mark wants to steep flax, he has to distance it from Aaron's vegetables, vesakrishin min abtzalim, and leeks he has the distance from Aaron's onions, vesachardel min advarim, and mustards from honey, because remember we said that the bees will eat the mustard and then their mouth will be bitter and they will consume their own honey. Rabbi Yossi mata b'chardel. Rabbi Yossi permits chardel, mustard, to put it near the the honey. Ibailu, Rabbi Akiva Eichi Kamer. How do we interpret the words of Rabbi Akiva? L'kol ruach hu oisa v'saimech. In every direction, he could put the tannery right near the city. Chutz mimarava, except from the west. The marchik nun ama v'oisa. There he has the distance at 50 amas. Oidum, or the other way. L'kol ruach hu oisa, in any other direction, east, south, and north. He could put it and has the distance 50 amas. Chutz mimarav, except for the west, the ein oisa klal. He can't put it there at all. So Tajma, this we're going to be able to answer categorically. Tajma, the Tani Rabbi Kiva kol ruach hu oisa. He could put the tannery in any direction, but any direction, but he has the distance at 50 amas. Chutz mimarav, except for the west, he can't do it at all. The Gemara arrives at the same conclusion, because it is maybe in the front table over there by the door. Because it is constant. We're going to see that the Gemara will say it's constant, that the Shechina is there. But the Gemara now questions, what does it mean that it's constant? Amalei Rav Rav Nachman my Tedira, Ilema Tedira Beruchais. If you mean that on the western side there's always wind, says Gemara, but that's not true. The constant wind is the northern side. Elsewhere in Shas, we learned that every 6 hours another wind blows. But v'ruach tzfainis im kulan. But the northern wind tempers all the other winds. It's a constant. Shel mole kain, because if not for the tempering of the northern wind, the world would not exist even for 1 hour. The southern wind is the most ferocious. And if not for an angel called the hawk, Shemamida, that blocks the force of the southern wind, it would destroy the world. Shenemar, as it says, is it with your understanding that the Malach called hawk spreads out its limbs? Yifrois knafav l'seimam, it spreads its wings to the south to temper and to hold back the wrath of the southern wind. So if that's not what it means, then what does it mean that on the west it's Tadira? I'm not letting people in over here, not being such a good host. As we welcome in Rabbi Kranz and Yisrael Fisher. Mitz Hashem, Yisrael Fisher is going to be our shoyel at the Irgun on Monday evening at Avenue J. Yisrael, did you get the questions? He's not talking to me. Okay.
Did you email them? Or?
I WhatsApped it to you. You don't have WhatsApp?
Yeah, yes, I do. I'll check it.
I have to give you information because I sent you the questions, but we did a trial run. I did the Q&A here in my shul, the Shabbos, and we didn't get through half of them. So I'm going to be removing a few questions in order that we should be able to finish. But I'll give you the instructions.
Okay.
You could print it out from WhatsApp?
Yes.
So it's 2 pages. You should print them out. Elamite Tadira. What does it mean that the western side is constant and therefore you can't put the tannery on the western side? Says Tadira b'shchina. It's constant with the divine presence. The Amr of Yeshua and Levi, Bo v'nachzik toivel avoseinu. Let us show our gratitude to our ancestors from the Anshe Knesset Agdayla that said this verse in Ezra, Shaidio imakum tefillah, that they let us know where to daven. Dichsiv utzva shamayim lecha mishtachvim. The hosts of heaven bow down to you. So since the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, so it's bowing down to the west. It shows that the Shekhinah is in the west. Maybe in the morning, in the east, the sun gets a reward from Hashem in the east, and then v'chayzer la'achurav, and he's backing out. So maybe the Shekhinah is in the east. Or v'chayzer la'achurav, and Mishtachman is bowing down while it backs away. Says Makasha, that indeed is a good question. Rav Aishia says, Shechina b'chol makom. The Shechina is found all over the place. How do we know that the Shechina is all over the place? Like it says, La Hashem ha'oretz u'malaya. The Hashem is the world and its fullness. So the Gemara says, how do we know this? Says the Gemara, Da'amar Rav Aishia, my dichsiv, Atu Hashem levadecha. You are Hashem who exists alone. Everything else is only because of you. Atu asisas hashemayim u'shmei shemayim. So the Gemara says, Shluchecha loike shluchei basav adam. The agents of Hashem are not like human agents. Shluchei basav adam, human agents. If I send you to do a mission, then you come back to me and inform me whether you succeeded. So human agents, if I sent you from Lakewood to do a job for me in New York, L'sham machzirin shlichusan. You got to return to Lakewood to report on your success or failure. Avol shluchecha, but Hashem's agents, l'mochem shemishtalkim, to the place that they are sent, misham machzirin shlichusan. Over there where they go to, there is where they report their success or failure, because wherever they're going, Hashem is at their destination as well. Shenema hasishlach brokim v'yelechu. Do you send out lightning bolts and they go v'yoyimru lecha hinenu, and they tell you we're here? Now it doesn't say yavoyu v'yamru. They come and they tell you. They don't come back and tell you. V'yavoyu v'yamru lo'nema elo v'yelchu v'yamru. Where they go, they tell you that they did their mission, because even where they go, Hashem is there as well. Malamit sheshchina b'chol makom. That the Shekhinah is in all places. And the same thing is true. Rabbi Shmuel also says the Shekhinah is in all places. How do we know that? The Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel, it was taught in the Academy of Rabbi Shmuel, Minayin Shekhinah b'kol makom. How do we know that the Shekhinah is in all places? Shenemar hinei hamalach hadoiver bi yotzei. The malach that spoke to me went out. O malach achar, and another angel yotzei likrosei. Another angel came out to greet him. Now it doesn't say another angel followed him, but came out to greet him. So just like an angel spoke to me, and then when I went, another angel came out to greet me. Now both of these angels emanated from Hashem. Acharav le'nemer, it doesn't say an angel followed me. El lekrosai, it came out to greet me. So I went somewhere else, and Hashem was there also. Malamed sheshchina b'chol makom, that the Shekhinah is in all places. V'af Rav Sheshes sav shechina b'chol makom. Rav Sheshes also says that the Shekhinah is all over. The Amalei Rav Sheshes l'shamei, Rav Sheshes told his attendant, L'kol ruchasa okman. You could point me in any direction to daven. Levar memizra, except for the east. I don't want to daven to the east. Now, why didn't he want to daven to the east? V'la mishum deles bei shchina. Not because the east doesn't have shchina. The east also has shchina. But he didn't want to daven where the goyim bowed down to. Since the goyim bowed down to the sun, so they bowed down to the east. El mishum demoru b'minei. Because the heretics daven in that direction, he didn't want to daven in that direction. Rabbi Avo Amar Shechina b'Ma'ariv. Rabbi Avo says that Shechina is in the west. Dam Rabbi Avo, my Uriah. Uriah is a name for the east. Why is it called Uriah? Avir Ka, the airspace in front of Hashem. So the east is the airspace which is in front of Hashem, which is to the west. I'm Rabbi Yehuda. What is that which is written? Yaroif kamoter liki. There comes down, my merchandise comes down like rain. Now, this refers, we're going to have now four verses, four partial verses. Each one is going to refer to a different wind, because remember, the rain comes from clouds, which are conveyed by the wind. That's why it says, Mashi Baruach U'Morid HaGoshen, because Hashem causes the wind to blow, which conveys the wind to the clouds to where they're needed, and then it rains. So Yarav Kamata Leki Zuruach Maravis, this is the western wind. Sheba me orpoi shel oilam. It comes, the lashon of Yarif is the nape, because since the Shekhinah is in the east, so therefore the back, that's the east is Kedem, the front, so the back is the west. Sheba me orpoi shel oilam. Tizal katal imrasi, my command distills like dew. This refers to the northern wind. Zurach Tzfainis. Now, why does it use a lashon of Tizal? The Ruach Tzfainis sometimes heralds in famine to the world. And famine cheapens gold, because people have to spend a lot of money and the prices go up. Shemazeles es hazav. It cheapens gold. It causes gold to flow from the purse. Kiseirim alei desha, like storms upon the grass, upon the herbs. We're glad that the time works out in Chicago so that Marshall could also join us. And welcome, Marshall, as Marshall has just made Havdalah. Says the Gemara, Avram Hecht is joining us. Good to have you. Marshall, we are holding towards the bottom of Chaf Hei Amud Aleph. Kiseirim alei desha, 3 lines from the bottom. Kiseirim alei desha. Now, seirim with a samach refers to storms, as we welcome in Ruvain Shannon joining us. And we have over here also Udi. It's good to have you as well. Kiseirim alei desha. Zu ruach mizrachis, this the eastern wind, said sometimes shemisaeres es kol ha'olam, it causes a tempestuous storm throughout the world. Kisoir, like the demon, seirim are demons. Ukerevivim alei esav, and like showers upon the grass. Zuach ruach draimus, that's the southern wind. Shimala revivim, it brings up showers. Umegadeles hasavim, and it causes the grass to grow. Now, fasten your seatbelts over here, Rabbi Say. We have a piece of Gemara over here that the challenge of the next Gemara is to reconcile it with today's knowledge. It's very hard to do this with this Gemara. So, there is a Marsha in the 5th parak of Bava Basra that says that these Hamaletic Gemaras contain many secrets. But he says, and he's the expert of all the Gemaras in Shas, he says that even so, ein Gemara yaitze midei pshuta, even though there's a lot of Hamaletic and deep lessons in the Gemaras, but every Gemara can be learned on its simple level. The learning of the next Gemara, having said this Gemara many, many times, I always give this preface. The next Gemara is very hard to understand according to our knowledge of astronomy and basic astronomy. And we have to understand that there is stuff over here in this Gemara that we will not be able to understand. To say that the Gemara made a mistake, that we can't say, because the oral law, the Gemara is Misinai. And therefore, we can't say it's a mistake. We have to understand, therefore, that we just don't understand what the Gemara means. Tanya Rabbi Eliezer says, Oilam lachsadra hu daima. The world is like a patio. It's like a veranda. It's closed on 3 sides and opened on 1 side. So this would be, what the Gemara is over here is obviously trying to do is to explain why in the night it's dark and in the day it's light. So the Gemara learns that in the day the sun is by the open end of the veranda, and then in the night it dips out and goes outside, and that's why the rest of the time it's dark. Of course, this doesn't explain why on the other side of the world it's light. So how does it work? So we don't understand what this means. See-through Chsadra, then what's the purpose of the Chsadra? So we don't understand the simple meaning. But the Gemara tells us that this world, Chsadra hu daima, it's like it's closed on 3 sides. V'ruach tzefainis eina misuveves. The northern side is not closed. V'keven shegiach chama eitzel keren maravas tzefainis. When it reaches the northwestern corner, nichfafis, it bends v'oila lamala min harakia and goes outside of the veranda, and that's why it's dark. Rabbi Yeshua Ma'ilon lekuba hu daima. The world is like it's in a tent. V'ruach tzafainis misuveves. And even the northern side is enclosed. When it reaches the northwest corner, makefes, it goes around, meaning it goes out through a window. V'chozeres achure kipa, and it goes around outside of the enclosure. Shenemar holech el darim. Holech means inside. Holech el darim. It travels inside in the south. V'sovev el tzafon, and it goes around about outside by the north. Holech el darim b'yayim. It's inside this tent in the day. V'sovev el tzafon. It goes around in the north b'layla. And now the Gemara quotes two psukim. Soivev, soivev, hoylei charuach. Round and going goes the wind. Va'al svivaisav shavaruach. And as it goes around, it returns. Now, elu pnei mizrach or pnei marav. So in one pasuk it says sovev, sovev, and holech. So says the Gemara, this is pnei mizrach or pnei marav, the eastern and western horizon. Shepa'omi misavavtan. Sometimes it crosses the eastern and western horizon in the night. Upa'omi mahalchasan. And sometimes it's in the day. Now this means as follows. During the winter months, where the day is very short, so it crosses the east-western horizon in the night, and therefore the sun is on the outside. In the long summer months, when the day is very long, then it crosses the eastern and western horizon in the day, and then it's inside the tent even during the day. Hu ha'ya'omer, he would say, this says the Gemara, when it says Hu ha'ya'omer, asan l'Rebbe Eliezer. This goes according to Rebbe Eliezer, who says that the world is like a veranda, and the southern side is open. Min ha'cheder tavai sufa, the pasuk says, from the chamber comes sufa, a storm. Zuruach draimus. This is the southern side. Now the southern side is enclosed. It's one of the three sides that's in the patio. So that storm comes from inside the room, so to speak. Umimizarim, but from the scattered solar system, kerach, comes the cold. Zurach tzefainis, since it's open on the northern side, so it comes from far beyond. Minishmas kel yitain kerach, from the breath of Hashem comes frost. Zurach maravis, that's the western side. The Shekhinah is in the west. V'roichev mayim b'mutza, and the wide expanses of water comes with great torrent. Zuruach mizrachas, that's the eastern wind that sometimes brings, as we said, kiseirim, torrential rains. Says the Gemara, but what do you mean? You're telling me that minacheder tavai sufa, from the ruach draimus comes a storm, but we said, it says that from the south. It says from the south. It says min ha'cheder tavai sufa comes a storm, but we said that the draimus is malo revivim. It brings showers and megedelas asavim and causes it to grow. So we see that from the south causes to grow, while over here it says that the reich of mayim comes from the east. It says, well, like kasha, if it comes gently, then it's coming from the south. Habishvikusa, if it comes torrential rain, then that comes from the east. Rav Chisda Maidich Siv Mitzafan Zav Yasa. If you remember, we learned this already. From the north, gold comes. What does it mean, gold comes? Zurach's finest, that's the northern wind that sometimes causes famine. Shemazelas Esazav, it causes the gold to pour out of people's pockets because they have to spend a lot of money on food because of the famine. V'cheinu oimer, hazalim zav mekis, it causes gold to flow from the pocket. From the day that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the southern wind did not bring rain. Hashem decreed on his right, and we were hungry. Now, since the Shechina Kedem is the east, then to the right of the east is south. So from south comes hunger. V'yoichel al small, and they will try to eat from the left, from the north. V'loi saveo, they won't be full, and that's what we say, that tzofin is the left. Tzofin v'yamin atav rasan, the north and the right you created. So that's it, because the south is considered the right. From the day that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the rain does not fall from Hashem's goodly storage house. Unfortunately, when we had a Beis Hamikdash, we had a shulchan. The shulchan gave financial blessing to the world. With the destruction of the temple, the blessing to the world was greatly diminished. So, the rain did not come down from a goodly storage place. Shenemar, Mirtz Hashem, Yiftach Hashem L'cha. Hashem will open for you as a tzorei hatayv, his good storage place. Bizman she Yisrael oisim mitzayin nishamak, when Klal Yisrael does the will of Hashem, when we have the Beis Hamikdash, Yisrael shriyan alad masam, and we're dwelling settled with the temple on our land, geshamim yardim eretz hatayv, the rain will come from a goodly storage house. Bizman she ein Yisrael shriyan alad masam, ein geshamim yardim eretz hatayv, we weren't blessed with such benevolence. Somebody wants to be smart, he should daven towards the south. V'sheyashiv, if he wants to be rich, yatzman, he should daven to the north. V'simanech shulchan b'tzafen, the shulchan was in the north in the Beis Hamikdash. Or menorah b'darim, and the menorah was in the south. The menorah represents chachmas hatayra, wisdom, so that's to the south. Shulchan, which represents financial prosperity, is to the north. Rabbi Shubin Levi, I'm always daven to the south, because if you have wisdom, you'll also be able to know how to make money. If he's wise, he'll become wealthy. If a person learns Torah and engages in wisdom, he'll have a length of days in his right. He'll also have wealth and honor. Says, but I don't understand. How could Rabbi Shubin Levi say to daven to the south? He says that the Shechina is to the west. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says, according to Rabbi Shua ben Levi, you don't daven due west, but you tilt a little bit to southwest. The Mitzadei Atstude, he tilts somewhat in a southwesterly way. You who lived to the north of Eretz Yisrael, you should daven to the south. Adrume, you should daven to the south, because since you live to the north, you should daven towards Eretz Yisrael to the south. Says the Gemara, how do we know that Bavel is to the north of Eretz Yisrael? How do we know that Bavel is to the north of Eretz Yisrael? From the north, Tipasach Hara will open up evil al kol yeshvei haaretz. When the Babylonians came and sacked Eretz Yisrael, they came from the north. So we see Bavel is to the north of Eretz Yisrael. Marchikin es hamish. By the way, Rabbi say, this Agadah Gemara was ordered by Mark. He said, I have to miss 2 days but I'm asking you, please, to give me a Agada to Gemara. The Agada to Gemara was hard because Mark, since he missed 2 days, did not deserve easy Agada to Gemara. So I'm sorry. But Mark is making improvements. Right, Mark? I want you to know, Mark, when you're not here, Marshall isn't smiling as much. He's just not. He's also drinking a lot more. We got now our 30th Zoomer of the evening. Daniel Rosenberg is our 30th Zoomer of the evening. Well, welcome, Daniel. As we're just starting the new Mishnah on Daf Chafei Amid Beis, just getting started here on our Motzi Shabbos Marathon. This is the second day in a row that we're learning 2 blot. It's a hard habit, but one that's very rewarding. I'm going to ask you, Michal, if you could spill this out. I'm going to be giving you some cold water. Look at this, I'm making use of a chassan. What's the matter with me?
Get him used to serving.
Right. I was just going to say, I'm getting him used to the honeydew season. You know the honeydew season? Honeydew this and honeydew that. But anyway, Marchikin as a mishra min a yerek, you distance vetch. I mean, it's not vetch, sorry about that. Marchikin as a mishra min a yerek, Mark has to distance the flax that he's soaking from Aaron's vegetables. Tana, we learned in the Braisa, Rabbi Yosi matir b'chardal. Rabbi Yosi says that Mark could keep his mustard near Aaron's bees. Why? Because Mark says, why do you consider my mustard a menace? It's your bees that are a menace, because they come and eat my mustard. You move away your bees. As the Gemara explains, he could tell him, before you tell me that I should distance my mustard from your bees because the bees eat the mustard and then they have a sharp taste and they eat up their own honey, distance your bees from my mustard, because they come and they consume the flowers of my mustard. Thank you very much. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. Okay. Marchikin es ha'ilon min habar esrim v'chamesh ama. You should distance a tree from a pit 25 amas. You're listening to this, Mark? Keep your tree away from Shelley's bar 25 amas, because the roots will go and they will invade either the wall of Shelley's bar or they will go under Shelley's bar and wreak havoc with the foundation. Or if it's a carob or a sycamore tree, which has much further spreading roots, it has to be 50 amas. Now this is true bein milmala, it's true whether one is higher, bein minatzad, or they're alongside each other, as I just explained. Now, imabar kadma, if Shelley's pit was there first, and Mark planted a tree, kaitates, then Mark has to cut it down, but v'noising damin, Shelley has to reimburse him. Vim ilan kadam, but if Mark's tree was there before Shelley's pit, then lo yakitz, he doesn't have to cut it down. Suffix zeh kadam is suffix zeh kadam, if we're not sure which one is there, so then missuffix Mark doesn't have to cut it down, lo yakitz. Rabbi Yosi says Mark doesn't have to cut it down. See, Rabbi Yosi holds minam, it's on the nizik to distance himself. Mark says, don't tell me what to do. You don't want to be a problem, you distance yourself. It's on the victim to distance himself. Rabbi Yossi Aimer, Afal Pisha Bar Kodemes Elon, even if the pit was there before the tree, Lo Yakutz, Mark doesn't have to cut it down. Shezeh Chayfer B'Sek Shaloi, each one could do what he wants on his own property. Shezeh Chayfer B'Sek Shaloi, Shelley digs on his property. V'Zen Aitea B'Sek Shaloi. Now, this that Rabbi Yossi holds that it's ala nizik lahachi kasatzma, that's only if it's not an immediate damage. If it's an immediate damage, if it's girei delay, then even Rabbi Yossi holds Mark has to temper his behavior. And that's what the Gemara says. Well, first the Gemara is going to tell us, Tana, we learned in a brayso, beina shabar lamata v'ilon lamala, whether if Shelley's bar was below and the tree was above, bein shabar lamala, if the bar was high and the ilon lamata, the tree was below. So the Gemara says, Bishlam bar lamata v'ilon lamala, I understand where the bar is below and the tree is above, Kazlin and Sharshe, maskil bar. We're worried that Mark's roots is going to go and invade the walls of Shelley's bar. Ela bar lamala, if the bar is high, v'ilon lamata, amai, what's the problem? The roots are going to go underneath the bar. What's the problem with that? Because it softens and breaks up the earth, and that's going to undermine the bottom, the floor of Shelley's bar. So Rabbi Yossi, even if the pit was before the tree, lo yakutz, Mark doesn't have to cut it down. Because Mark could say, look, you do in your property what you want to do, and I'll do in my property what I want to do. Halachic Rabbi Yossi, the law is like Rabbi Yossi, however, with a caveat, as I told you. Rav Ashi, when I was in the academy of Kahana, Rabbi Yossi agrees that if it's like Mark is shooting an arrow, where the damage is immediate, then Mark has to distance himself. And the Gemara gives us an example. Pape Yoina, from the town of Yonah, or some learn that it means Pape the Greek, the Lashon of a Yavani, he was a Syrian Greek convert. Ani ve'esher haba. He was poor, became wealthy. It's a rag to riches story. And he built himself a palace. Bona Padna, he built himself a mansion. Havahanach atzurei b'shivavusei. There were sesame pressers. Atzurei are people that press sesame in his neighborhood. When they pressed with a lot of power. When they pressed the sesame, the whole palace shook. It's like today's music. From today's music, the whole house shakes. Right? So this was the pressed the sesame, and the whole house shook. So also the coming to Rav Ashi. So Papa Yonah came to complain by Rav Ashi. Amalei, so he said, Ki ave bei Rav Kahana, when we were in the academy of Rav Kahana, Hava Amrinan, Moidi Rabbi Yossi begirei delay. Rabbi Yossi admits if it's a direct damage. So he told the sesame presses, you're doing it a direct damage. You have to back away your pressing that it shouldn't make Papa Yonah's house shake. The Kama, how much is it considered to be a disturbance? So the Gemara says, "Kidinayed nekasma apumi dechatzma." It's like a lid shaking on top of the barrel. If it shakes so much that it would cause a lid to shake on top of the barrel, they have to back away. Now we're just going to pause a moment over here, Rabbi Isai, to change the channel.